Welcome back, friends. In the last video we have seen how to create a trigger, and we have used the event type as page view, and we have added some filters to the trigger, and we have also seen how to attach this trigger to a tag. So in this video, before going to look at the other kinds of triggers, we'll just go and look at the overview of variable section. This will be important because whenever you are going to configure your triggers, it is very important that on what condition you want to fire the trigger. So let's go ahead and click variables. So like you can sign into your tag manager console and go to your container, and then you have your variable section. So by default these are the variables which are enabled on your tag manager console. URL, page host name, path, referrer, and the event. So there are other kinds of inbuilt variables that are available which you can enable. So I'm going to I'll be very much interested in clicks, forms mostly. So I'll just enable all of this click related inbuilt variables and form related inbuilt variables. If you are looking at something else, like if your requirement is something else which is related to this history or errors or utilities, you can just go ahead and enable all those inbuilt variables. So for my purpose, I'm just going to enable clicks and forms, and I'm going to go back to triggers. Now I'm going to click a new trigger. I'm just going to name it as test trigger. I'm not going to publish this trigger. I'm just going to show you what exactly are the other kinds of events you have. So the first one is click, apart from the page view. Once you select the click trigger, you have two options. Either you want to track HTML elements or all the links. So you have two options. So let's select the all elements option. And once you select all elements, you have this configuration whether you want to track all the clicks or some clicks. If you select all clicks, so each and every click that happens on your HTML element, any HTML element on your web page will be tracked. If you are going to select some clicks, you will be presented as configuration where you can select what is the exact HTML you want to track. Let's say I want to track a button named add to cart on my website. So let's go to ayaka.co.in. So let's say I want to track this add to cart button. So let's say I have this add to cart button ID as add to cart or ATC, let's say, for example. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to select click ID. So if you see, we have already enabled all the click related inbuilt variables in the variable section just before now. So you can see all those variables coming up here. So if you haven't enabled all those variables, you won't be seeing them. By default you can only see page host name, page path, URL, referrer. So once you enable your click related variables, and that your add to cart button has an ID, so that's why I'm going to select ID, click ID, and I'm going to select equals. I know the precise ID of that particular element, which is add to cart. So this will ensure that a tag has to be fired whenever someone clicks on add to cart button. So let's say you want to fire a pop-up, or you want to fire a Google Analytics event whenever someone clicks an add to cart button. So this is the trigger you want to configure that for that particular tag. So that particular Google Analytics tag will only fire when the person clicks on add to cart button. Right? I guess you are clear about that. And you can also you also have a lot of other choices like click classes. Let's say if you don't have any ID on your element, if you only have your class attribute enabled, you can select classes, and you also have your all the other options like regular expression match, or contains, equals, negative matching. You also have click target. So if you have a href attribute attached to your HTML element, you can match that. You can also match the click text. So if your HTML element has a text that is present inside the HTML element, you can also match that click text and click URL. In the similar way, you also have form related events, which we'll see in some time. So that is about your click event. So let's go back and look at the form submission. Let's look at the other configuration, which is just links. Right, you have selected wait for tags or check validation. We recommend enabling this trigger only on the pages when you need it and testing your changes before publishing. So this is a warning which you need to be very careful about. So whenever you enable just links, and by default Google Tag Manager is going to wait for 2 seconds, and then it is going to fire the tag, and then it is going to redirect your page. So let's say you have enabled this trigger on one of the tag where you want to track all the anchor tag clicks. So what the Google Analytics Google Tag Manager does is, whenever visitor clicks on this particular anchor link, it waits for 2 seconds, it sends the data to Google Analytics, and then it will redirect to your target URL. So this is a very important thing when you talk about user experience, and nowadays it is very important to take care of your user experience. If the visitor is going to wait for 2 seconds after the clicking of the button, it is very awkward. So that's why you have to use this particular just link section very carefully. So yeah, that's about the click event. Let's look at the form submission event. So form submission is a very useful trigger event type you have inbuilt in your Google Tag Manager. So you don't need to write a lot of jQuery or JavaScript code to track the successful form submission. So all you need to do is you have to select the form submission. You can either check the validation, like most of the forms they have a validation check. So only when you have the data successfully submitted to the backend, you want to fire a tag, or else you may be screwing up your data. So if you don't want to check validation, you can remove that, and you can just click on continue, and here you can use form related variables. So on which form, let's say if your form has an ID, you can just select the form ID and equals, let's say I'm going to track my checkout form, which has an ID of checkout form. So I'm going to select form ID equals as checkout form. In a similar way, if your form has any other kind of classes or target or text, then you can match the related variable, and then you can create a trigger. Once you create the trigger, as we have seen earlier, you have to attach this tag trigger to any kind of tag which you are interested in. So that's about the form submission. And you also have other kinds of events which you may not be using much, but if you see the custom event, so custom event is something related to very particular kind of events. So there is something called data layer object, and you can fire custom events from your page level code. So I guess this will be a pretty advanced topic to discuss about, which we can look at in the later point of time. So for now, I guess page view, click, and form submission are 3 important triggers which you need to be aware of whenever you are trying for custom events tagging on your web page. So that's about triggers.